This is KGW News at Sunrise.
This morning, we have the latest out of Ukraine as the situation continues to get more dire. You're going to hear from a local aid worker who's based in Portland, but over there helping, who tells us what it's like on the ground near Ukraine. Plus,
every other city discovered half a century ago that the commission form of government is a terrible way for a community to organize itself.
City leaders admitting Portland's way of governing just isn't working. This morning, a few of the ideas on how to restructure the city.
and we will be live at the Convention Center this morning where the Shamrock Fitness Fair will be kicking off. That's because the Shamrock Run making its big return for the first time since the pandemic began. We have all the details coming up here at 5:15.
Always a good time. Hey, happy Friday, everybody. We've made it to the end of the work week. Tons to talk about. Remember to set your clocks forward. Time change tomorrow. Rod, you're on the road as well, bringing us a fun story later.
Yeah, went to Astoria, of course, rich in history, and we'll have some of that for you coming up. Should be a lot of fun. We're at 37 degrees this morning, so it is not as cold as it was yesterday. Now, 37 out of PDX is actually one of the sizzling spots. A lot of you are still 30, 32, but remember yesterday, a lot of you were more like 25, 26, so not as cold in general. And you will notice the warm up all areas this afternoon, a good 5 degrees plus warmer than we were 24 hours ago. 51 at noon. I have us in the upper 50s at 5 p.m. Partly sunny skies overall, guys.
We'll check in with you soon. Thanks. Now in its third week, Russia's invasion of Ukraine is intensifying, along with accusations of war crimes.
And now, after days of being stalled, U.S. defense officials say Russian forces are closing in on Ukraine's capital. They believe forces could surround the city in just 1 to 2 weeks. Speaking from his office yesterday, Ukraine's president denied Russia's claims that Ukraine is preparing to fight back using chemical weapons. U.S. intelligence officials warned Russia may lie to lay the groundwork for a cover-up. Ukraine's president continues to push for a no-fly zone over the country, while President Biden says cutting off Russian oil to the U.S. is only part of the fight against Russia's war.
He's now facing a more united, energized, resolute NATO in the West than he ever imagined.
While in Poland, Vice President Kamala Harris backed calls for an investigation and visited U.S. troops. And later today, President Biden is expected to call for an end to normal trade relations with Russia. That will clear the way for more tariffs on Russian imports.
It's an absolutely massive number of people. And what I think is really so astounding is just how quickly this has all come about.
The war in Ukraine is impacting millions of people, and Portland-based Mercy Corps is there. It's trying to help refugees fleeing all the violence. The aid organization has teams on the ground at border crossings and in Ukraine. Tim Gordon talked to one of those Mercy Corps workers.
A war-torn country with a humanitarian crisis exploding inside Ukraine and across its borders.
The crisis is just astoundingly massive.
It was morning here and evening there when I spoke with Mercy Corps' Cassandra Nelson. She has been working at the Suret border crossing, the busiest for refugees fleeing into Romania. These are some of the 2 million people that have fled Ukraine to bordering countries in less than 2 weeks. Nelson says half are children, and most of the rest are mothers.
And I'm finding my conversations with these women is that they have left people behind.
Nelson said she met one woman who was crossing back into Ukraine to return to her hard-hit town. It was too chaotic and risky to try and get everyone out the first time.
And so she took one and got her daughter set up and safe. And then she was going back to get her 2-year-old and her mother.
Incredible acts of bravery. And for those able to escape to neighboring countries, incredible acts of giving by people willing and able to help.
It is so moving to see the response, here in Romania, the response of the Romanian people and the officials. It is just something I've never witnessed in my life.
But this crisis requires a global effort. Portland-based Mercy Corps is one of many humanitarian aid organizations. It is working in Romania and Poland, helping all who need to cross borders and getting much-needed supplies into Ukraine. And now they also have a team in Ukraine working with local partners.
And they are working to get goods in Ukraine, like medical goods and food and other items, to areas where they need it most in Ukraine.
Nelson sees a commonality with people in crisis around the world.
I find that in my work that the people are really fundamentally always the same. You know, their number one concern is their children.
To help the suffering is rewarding. To see the suffering is tough.
Your heart just wells up with tears because the stories are incredibly difficult to hear. And then you just think, you know, if it's this difficult to hear, God, what is it like to live that, you know, to live what they're living?
Tim Gordon, KGW News.
Back here at home, let's talk about the justice system because there are staffing shortages in many industries and the justice system is no exception. And while you might not find that surprising, we found out our area is so strapped for public defenders, it's slowing down the whole process. A snapshot from the last few weeks in Multnomah County shows 150 cases are stalled because there aren't enough court-appointed attorneys to assign to them. And because of all the work, the state's largest public defense firm is not accepting any new cases right now in Washington County.
It's not justice to assign an attorney to a case that they don't have the time to actually invest in representing that individual.
This is just one of the issues contributing to a revolving door of people getting arrested, then quickly getting put back out on the street, sometimes to commit more crimes. We took a closer look at the delay in justice and one solution in the works to bring in reinforcements, and you can watch that full story on our website.
Lighting up the night to honor the more than 1,000 people who've lost to COVID, in Multnomah County. Yesterday marked 2 years since the county discovered its first COVID case. County workers gathered last night for a vigil and a moment of silence near the Hawthorne Bridge. Leaders also encouraged everyone to try and feel good about where we're heading.
It might be hard for people to feel a sense of optimism after 2 years of a roller coaster. We've had moments where we thought we saw the sun and then Delta hit or then Omicron hit. But I think that we've learned that we need to take these moments where we can see the sun coming out and be happy, find some joy in that.
2 years later, Oregon and Washington are lifting their mask mandate. It ends tonight at 11:59. Now, keep in mind that even with the mask mandates ending, you still need to wear one on public transportation and in healthcare settings. Businesses can also require you to wear a mask.
Let's get to some more of your Friday morning headlines. And this morning, deputies investigating a shooting at a bar in Troutdale that left one person hurt. Not a lot of details in this one so far, but it was at the Skyland Pub on Southeast Stark and Troutdale Road last night, and the person that was shot was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Deputies say one person has been arrested. There's no more threat to the public. We'll keep you updated. Okay, check this out. A plane landed on I-84 out in eastern Oregon yesterday. Oregon State Police tweeted out this picture. They say the two people on board lost power mid-flight. Luckily, they were able to land safely. No one was hurt. Just amazing. Those are a couple of your Friday morning headlines.
Well, Portland is in the process of reevaluating its form of government. A commission that will determine what should change. Listen to hours of testimony from the public last night. What's clear is that many don't believe what the city is doing right now is working. And that includes at least one member of the Portland City Council. Pat Doris dug into that last night on The Story.
Portland City Commissioner Mingus Mapps certainly thinks that Portland's form of government really needs to change. I talked with him about the issue, and he laid out why having each commissioner and the mayor in charge of specific city departments just does not work when it comes to big issues like homelessness.
If you are camping in a park, that becomes a parks issue, which is in Commissioner Rubio's portfolio. If you're camping on a sidewalk, that becomes a PBOT issue, which is in Commissioner Hardesty's portfolio. If you, to just make the contact with the houseless community, that's our impact reduction team, which is in the mayor's office. So if you want to work with a camp in a park, you basically have to get the entire city council on the same page with an operational plan for how to move forward. And that just takes hours and hours and weeks and months of work. It's a crazy way to run a city, and it's one of the reasons why Portland underperforms on everything from homelessness to permits time after time.
We expect the commission studying this to have a recommendation in the next 2 weeks, and we'll of course keep following it and let you know what happens. We're taking a lot of deep dives on all sorts of issues like this on The Story at 6 o'clock. I hope we'll see you there.
It's just so refreshing when you hear honesty, you know, and like trying to change it and just hearing all the process. It is very interesting.
I tell you, I remember moving here and, you know, within the first couple of years, you realize this city's government is different than any city I've ever lived in.
It's funky, yeah, exactly.
Right down to how they elect people even. You know, 50% or whatever it is, you're in. If it's under that, you got to run again. All right. Here we go. One of the big headlines, of course, is the beginning of daylight saving time as standard time ends. And again, that magical time on the clock is 2 a.m. Sunday morning. So most of us, before we go to bed, if you still have clocks on the microwave or so forth and so on, you'll want to move those clocks forward. So 2 a.m. magically becomes 3 a.m. is the way it works. And what that means is today the sunrise is roughly 6:30. So Sunday morning it will be coming up a little bit after 7:30. Today's sunset is roughly about 6:15. But Sunday the sun won't go down to about 7:15. So it'll still be pretty light out well after 7:30. So that's the update. Don't forget to spring forward, the old saying goes. Here are the temperatures this morning. We have some frosty freezing spots, yes. But statewide, it's not as cold as it was 24 hours ago. 36 above freezing in Newport, above freezing in Kelso. Portland 37 above freezing. Salem, not so fast, 31 for you. But out east, I mean, Bend was down to 12 yesterday. They're at 30 right now. Here is the clouds from the system that will come in and bring us weekend rain. Still dry today, still some high cloudiness spilling in with partly sunny skies or mostly sunny skies, depending on where you are in the moment. Here's tomorrow morning. Still looks like we're dry tomorrow morning. This does bring rain to the coast shortly before 12 o'clock noon, and it brings rain into Portland even before 2. Now, most modeling shows that Portland would be dry until, let's say, sometime 2 or after tomorrow afternoon. So we'll watch that. Not much of any snow tomorrow up on the Cascades if you're going up there to ski or board during the day. But then tomorrow night into Sunday, we get a pretty good push of it. Could be a foot of snow coming down all total, or at least 8 inches. And that means snow-covered passes for you Sunday morning. 59 today. Woo! Pretty nice. 50s with the rain we talked about over the weekend. And then another pretty good shot of rain still on track for Monday, guys.
One more time. What was that?
Woo!
There you go. Thank you, Ron.
Good moves.
Oh, lots of people are doing that same thing about the Shamrock Run. After 2 years, it is back. Look at the leprechaun there. He is at the fitness fair. That's a live picture. He is stretching, getting ready for the race. We'll tell you more about the fair. We'll talk more about the run and the forecast for all those tens of thousands of folks who participate. That's coming up after the break. Look at our Devin Haskins there. Move, move, move.